Welcome once again to Syntax Error, your pretentious philosophical pedantic podcast ostensibly about video gaming and related topics therein. Warning, this podcast contains mature language, content, and spoilers. You have been warned. Welcome back to Syntax Error. I am, of course, Scott Thurlow, as always, and I am joined by Stephen Amosi.
Hello.
Louis Duran.
Hello.
And Ian Manzer.
Hello.
And we collectively are achievement whores, and that is the topic for tonight. Trophy whores are us. So let's get this out of the way. Where we all stand in relation to achievements / earning trophies. Let's start with Ian because I think he represents one end of the extreme.
I don't like trophies. I don't want to play video games for trophies, but I need to. I am compelled to 100% games, and I buy games for, if I know that, like, I hate multiplayer, I hate co-op, and if I have to get trophies for that, I will not buy a game no matter how good it is otherwise. Because if I'm not going to 100% it, it's going to bother me.
Then what's the point? And that is his stance. And I think on the opposite scale, Steve-O, what's your take?
Yeah, I don't want trophies and I don't need them. I play games just to play the game. I'm not worried about trophies, although I understand the draw of them. And I have, at points, been pulled into it, but nowhere near as much as I think the rest of you guys.
How do you get validation then?
Clearly. So, yes, that is your take. Fuck trophies, essentially, is what you just said.
Yes.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I think Louis might agree. I'll tell my story of when I got more into them. But I sort of started out where you were, Steve-O, and maybe I'm slowly trudging up the hill to where Ian is at, being like enthralled to them.
Twitch.
Slowly
But
twitching
I'm somewhat
your
in the
way
middle. But they definitely started appealing to me more as I played more games later on.
Yes, especially with the Xbox 360, the first console I jumped on with the, I would say, second or third generation. The achievements weren't a main focus for me. I was mostly just entertainment, but at times I caught myself feeling taunted by these games because some of the it was challenging, but it also brought a new element to the game. And I think I'm just a few degrees below Ian, where at points where I'm frustrated because it's so close to 100%.
Yeah.
Like the close that I have is 94%, and now it frustrates me because it's sitting there. It's almost like a download's about to complete, and then it fails at the last.
No, I like that's exactly what you said. They're taunting you, and it sort of like calls to you. If it calls to a certain personality, which it seems Ian is perfectly. It's like they're marketing it to you. And yeah, like you said, Louis, it's an extra challenge. Oh, you're not. If you don't do this challenge, you're pussy. Like you're not as good as anyone else. So yeah, it sort of taps into that and calls to you, or can at least. But it's interesting to where you fall in the line of what if you're going to do dive hardcore into it, or be like, whatever. Like I played the story and that's all I really want. So let's go into sort of the brief. Louis also just touched on this. The brief history of achievements. I believe they started basically with PC and Steam. I did it first, as I recall.
I think Valve might have, might be.
They're definitely sort of the originators of it, or precursors to it.
They're on the vanguard.
Yeah.
My first experience with it was really Blizzard.
Yeah.
I was
waiting
playing
for you to bring that up.
World of Warcraft addict, and
recovering.
Yeah, I haven't played in years. So I remember they had all of these trophies, and some you couldn't even get anymore. You had to be like the first person to do things, and there were so many of these in-game achievements that I spent hours and hours fishing inside of one of the Dorvan, Maine town to find this one, I think, frog that I could get that would unlock an achievement, and then it would be broadcast over the entire system that I had gotten this. And I had people messaging me, how long did it take you to find this? I'd be like, you don't want to know.
Don't worry about it, man.
You think you're wasting your life with World of Warcraft? I just wasted days just fishing.
I found a better way to waste time within World of Warcraft.
Sounds like old Zelda games, really.
Kind of, but no, I agree that Blizzard sort of definitely is one of the most egregious examples of trophy bukkake, if you will. Just like there's so many of them, and some of them so fucking obscure and so difficult. And like you said, if the first person does X, then fuck you. If you're not the first person, then you're not going to get it. Yeah, so we can talk a little bit more about that, and maybe that's a good segue into where we can discuss what we think, good trophy making versus poor or exploitive trophy making.
Right.
So I think that's a good one to start off with. I agree. I haven't played as many Blizzard games, but Ian did rail previously last season about also the ones in Diablo, which were like sub trophies. Sometimes games do that too. Like Mad Max has all these random ones that like in-game challenges that aren't even trophies, but still you might feel compelled to do them.
Yeah, they're called challenges. So
Also,
yeah.
Also, in a similar vein of Diablo, sometimes I'm glad that I haven't looked at all the trophies because they ruin.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, exactly.
Which is a point that Ian brought up
Yeah.
last season, especially in Diablo 3, where they just allude to like boss fights and things that happen later on,
and character deaths and so forth.
Character deaths that happen.
Okay, I'm going to spoiler heavy here. I'm going to reiterate the Diablo 3 thing. All right, so you meet all these NPCs. So one of the in-game challenges you can get is maxing out all of the dialogue trees with characters, and you see which dialogue moments happen in what acts. So Deckard Cain ends after Act 1. Guess what? He dies at the end of Act 1.
Guess he's not coming back. Yeah, sure.
One of them is Tyrael the Angel, who you don't know is Tyrael in game, but
you know it now.
You find out at the end of Act 1, he's the stranger to begin with, but his dialogue trees are crossed off under Tyrael, and his challenge is called "Now It's Just Us," which is he's the only person to survive to the end of the game of all the NPCs that you meet. So it ruins major plot points.
Sure, and that's horrible. And like I said, like that's the worst example of it. They're achievement assholes, if you will. That's a new term I'm coming up with. Yeah, I mean, that's just unfair to your player to do something like that. And yeah, you can look through them. And like, by and large, how they do it correctly is, of course, it's a hidden trophy, so it doesn't tell you or show you what it is, so you get it. But those ones are not. They're not even trophies, as we said. Nevertheless, though, it's part of the game. And if you're one of the people who's going to scroll through them, the plot's just been ruined for you to some extent.
Not that you play Diablo for its plot.
I mean,
it's there if you
might
look
though.
for it,
Sure. It's still like it's as if they're already spoiling their own game within the game. Bizarrely,
I don't know. I quite enjoyed the plot of the first Diablo. At least playing through it and like getting to the end.
Sure.
Where he sticks the demon thing in his head.
In his head, yeah, of course.
No matter what character you played, it was always the warrior,
regardless of it.
Shoved his.
So yeah, we can say good.
Well, I say going back, besides the spoilers that you can see in achievements, my other gripe is that sometimes the achievements are just part of the story and really serve no point. Like, I don't understand why they're there. You're going to gain them anyway, regardless.
I'll tell you why. Because for people like Steve-O, if you will.
But yeah, I want to say, and it's so kind of weird because, say you are like a casual player and you just decide, hey, let me look at the achievements. You get the story spoiled and everything, and then what's left of the game now?
I mean, that's a good point. It
doesn't make sense because if you play through the game anyway, you're gonna get the achievement, and I just don't see why, other than spoiling it, like for other players.
So here's what I'll say. Yeah,
exactly.
It's all about the gamification of games.
Of games, sure, exactly.
It's about making the player want to try and get these other trophies, and the only way to introduce them into the trophy world, if you will, is to give them a trophy, and hopefully they feel good about getting it. And then they will want to try and get the other ones. Yeah,
it's like a carrot and stick thing. And, when they started becoming bigger in last gen, so 360 and PS3, you do something during the plot and a little bloop bloop come up. And you're like, oh, that's cool that I get that. And sort of, like, again, it may compel you to do more. I agree, like I said, yeah, they could spoil it, but I think they learned quickly enough that it has to be hidden, or like something very vague, like finish chapter 1 or finish chapter 2, like without telling you details of it. But some still definitely do that. And I agree with you. That's a big gripe. They should it should be obvious that you wouldn't want to do that to a player.
Yeah. Well, to go back to the history, a lot of the trophy, especially hardcore trophy chasers, it's equivalent to the old arcades.
Yes,
where
absolutely.
We're going for high score. It's a point. It's meaningless in the end of the day, but I have 13 platinum trophies. You have 2. Yeah. I'm a better person than you.
It's a level beyond that, but it taps into that kind of thing for sure. I think that's a good point.
I'm a highly competitive board game player to the point where no one plays board games with me anymore.
That's why I just get to play co-op board games.
I only do it if I'm going to get a trophy at the end of the board game.
And I feel that it really taps into my competitive nature of I want to have this score even though no one's going to see it.
Sure, it's like putting, like you said, the old arcade thing. Oh, look at my initials are number 1. Look how many trophies I have, number 1. Sure, it speaks to, if you're a gamer, you would think that it's sort of automatically going to grab you in some way. But in order to do, if you're a casual gamer, then like Louis was saying just before, I think the reason they have those story ones at all is to give you the pat on the back, like, oh, at least you also get to have a trophy. It's like the showing up trophy.
Yeah.
You played
Participate. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you played our game, good for you. But I think that's a good springboard to our transition to it. So Ian, basically, you would say, correct me if I'm wrong, that you always, any game that had a trophy, like when it was coming out, you would just do it, play it until you got them all.
Yes and no. Back in the day when I first got my PS3, I wasn't as
Intense.
psycho as I am now. In fact, I'm very angry because I let my friend use DJ Hero on my PS3, so now it's permanently stuck on the list at 1%.
You're not going to 100% that shit? Go ahead.
So I was saying, you got to buy DJ Hero now and play
I'll buy it for you.
On it.
I also randomly bought Marvel versus DC versus Mortal Kombat or something like that.
Nice. Yeah.
It's a good game.
That's stuck at 13%. I'm never going to go back to it. But nowadays, I specifically will purchase games to make sure I can get the trophies. Yeah. And I don't think that's a good mechanic. Yeah. All right, for instance, I was playing Diablo 3. If there was no trophy, I would have played it once and then dropped it. But I have to get level 75 with all 6 characters.
Yeah, sure.
To get the gold trophy, in order to get the platinum trophy. And it's extending the longevity of the game, even though I don't want to play it anymore.
They want you, they want you to have some replayability, but there, of course, is a certain line over which I think it's unreasonable to ask that of a player.
And then this is even worse sin, I feel. That if they include the DLC in with the trophies, now I'm compelled to get the
of course.
For instance, what was it?
Cynically, obviously.
I 100%ed it in quotes BioShock, except I haven't done the challenge rooms yet. But I'm going to have to pay $10 to buy the challenge rooms map in order to have that.
Why don't you just pay $10 to get the trophy, of course? Like, that's essentially what you're saying comes down to. And it's a cynical business move in a sense. But I want to try to talk about the flip side of that, where the turning point for me, my personal example is, I point to this game a lot, but Far Cry 3, in addition to everything else I've said about it, made me want to go back and do trophies. Before that, I was sort of basically Steve-O's mindset, where I played through the story, did what I, got the ones that they gave me. And if I did, there's a lot of ones that I'll get into soon that are things like random funny or interesting things you could do with weapons or, something like that, that I might stumble upon. Like, oh, that was funny and interesting that they had that. BioShock was somewhat similar. But when I was done Far Cry 3, I had so much fun with it that I went back and actually started looking up trophies. The first time I started trophy whoring, digging up through the forums, and started, the one funny thing I remember, one example is that there was the engine repairing tool, like a blowtorch, but I didn't even know you could use it as a weapon. One of the trophies was killing a dude with that. So I was like, that sounds funny. I'm going to do that. There's another one like jumping off a zip line onto a guy. I didn't think you could do that either. So stuff like that. So if the game is good and fun enough, it sort of, did add to that replayability for me to go back and do it. But I want to talk to both Ian and Louis about a infamous-ish franchise that may lean towards Blizzard, which is the From games, like the Souls games and so forth, that, as far as I understand, some of them can be unreasonable.
Yeah, going back to the replay value of the games, I would say definitely for Demon Souls, Dark Souls, that the From Software franchise, it adds a lot of value to it because honestly, it's so vast in the different categories or character classes you can choose that you want to explore the world in another. It's a different body, almost. It's completely different builds. You get a totally different fighting style, and from your past playthroughs, you think how you can approach a situation, and you realize no, there's almost 13, 12 different ways, but there's also a lot of difficulty to it too.
Well, being able to speak to the From Software games a little bit, I really love the fact that there are so many different ways to approach it, and you're gonna, with those games especially, you're gonna approach it probably 50 different wrong ways before you figure out the right way to do it.
That's a given, sure,
but like I actually, for most games, I really get angry about how frustratingly hard they are sometimes because it seems almost unfair to me. But in those games, there's always a way to do it, and you just kind of have to figure it out. And like knowing that makes it easier to fail so many times, and it also makes it so much better when you actually succeed.
This can be a little bit broader, but it's dealing with Demon Souls, which I 100%ed. Now, when I go into certain games, I actually have to look up forums and PlayStationTrophies.org.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And look at, because I don't have time much anymore, but I'm still compelled to do this. So I'm looking, I want to maximize, instead of power gaming in a way,
yeah,
or
sure.
power trophying, which I have to look up all the trophies so that I can try to get max of them.
As many as possible in one playthrough. Yeah.
I can't sit back and enjoy a game anymore because, or like explore on my own because I might miss a collectible somewhere.
Yeah.
I need to have, like, if I'm playing, I played Infamous, and I had a mini map open on my laptop in order to see where all the collectibles were in every area I was in. Because I don't have time to invest in scouring the earth for things. So for Demon Souls, in order to get one, I think it was the Pure Stone, if memory serves me correctly, was dropped really randomly.
A rare drop, yeah.
Very rare drop.
Mm-hmm.
I had to kill the same enemy around 500 times in order for this thing to drop. I was looking up and like moaning with other people on the internet over how unfair this was, but we were compelled to do it. So I actually had the best. I knew exactly where to drop off in the map in order to skip this one section so I could run right to this enemy, kill him, exit, restart. And I'm listening to podcasts while I'm just repeating this mindless motion in order to do this needless, compelled thing.
Sure, you're super grinding, but like I want to go back. See, the thing, it's always a fine line between how much replayability it adds and how much fun it is doing that replay. Like the Dark Souls thing, or the Souls games, you said, sure, you get a different playthrough. You approach things differently with different classes, and that could be, a somewhat new experience, even though you've played it, like, let's say in your 5th playthrough. Oh, but I'm doing a different build, so it changes up my play style, changes up, what I'm going to equip, etc. So, like, all I'm saying is, like, there must be a line wherever it lies for you as a player of how much investment you're going to put into something like that and which games you're going to do it with.
Well, I wanted to mention a similar experience that I had with what you were just talking about, Ian, like that basically super grinding out. The only time that I've ever been that fanatical towards getting something
Final Fantasy
was Final Fantasy VII. Yep, and getting the gold chocobo, which was and now it's years hence since I actually did
doesn't matter. You did it, right?
It was just going back and doing the same thing over and over and over again until it actually worked out and like whatever I needed to drop or what. No, it was breeding the chocobos,
right?
And like, so you had to breed these chocobos, and then they would make a black one and a green one, I think.
Whatever
and then you
it was.
got to breed the black one and the green one together to get a gold one. But you just had to do this over and over and over again to actually get the gold one.
You're literally farming chocobos.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a small percentage chance that each one would work out properly. So I see what you mean there, and like that was a game that I got into.
Was that even? They didn't have achievements in Final Fantasy VII, right?
So there weren't achievements yet, but like. It was that same type of thing. It was like, this super grinding to get a desired outcome so that you could get, like, you had to get the gold chocobo to get the best summon in the game. So I had to get the gold chocobo to get the best summon in the game.
Adds good value.
Like I said,
and then I had to use the best summon in the game to actually beat the
Knights of the Round, correct?
Yeah, to get Knights of the Round.
It's like the stick and carrot thing again. And that's a good example because the one for me before achievements even existed was I love Chrono Trigger so much that I found, similar to your spot to find the drop for that one item in Demon Souls, is there was a one spot in Death Peak where enough at the end of the game, it was post game, so I wanted to level everyone up beyond 99 to level star because that's so fucking special. So it was one spot where I just grinded the same 5 enemies or whatever, like over and over, to level up everyone in my party to star because I wanted to do that.
In Final Fantasy VII, I had to grind the final dungeon over and over and over again just so that I could beat the ultimate weapons in it.
But that's sort of the nature, of course. Like those are like sort of narrow examples because they're old school RPGs, which grinding was already kind of part of the game. But as it returned in the modern age, I agree with Ian Sedman also that I really started to resent the co-op and the online achievements because as I got less interested in it, I'd be like, fuck, I got all the other achievements, but fuck you, I'm not playing online or whatever just to get the last 5.
Yeah.
Like a good example for that, I love Black Flag. AC Black Flag was amazing. I got all the ones except for online because I was never going to do it.
That's Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Black Flag.
Yes, I believe people know AC. But I mean, there are other examples of games like that.
Yeah, even before. I think we talked about this a while back now, but you said A Link to the Past. Yep. You wanted to get every single
heart piece.
Every heart piece, and you wrote into Nintendo Power, right?
Yes,
and everybody
that
just
is correct.
Keep digging in the graveyard. It's all you get.
Yep.
But it's of course it's one of the things that you're never going to be able to find out. But you just have to explore the world so much.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was possible. Like that blew my fucking mind.
That's an awesome like pre-internet thing, though. You know, like you wrote into Nintendo Power and they told you how to get that last heart piece. You know?
Yeah, this is a quick personal tangent, but side note. Yeah, when I was like 11, 12, when another game came out, I was stuck on 2 things, that and some other thing. And I wrote in pencil a letter to Nintendo Corporation, and a month or so later, they gave me a printed response with a whole bunch of advertisement shit, of course. But they answered my question, they told me how to do it, and I was like, that's awesome of them.
Speaking of Nintendo Power, getting a little bit off topic, I'll do this really quick, but I actually wrote in Nintendo Power one time about Super Mario Bros. 3, and they printed it in the magazine. Like the crowning
You're a hero.
of my writing career.
You're a hero, for sure.
But no, the glory of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was all downhill.
Best thing I ever did, and I was 11 years old.
Achievement unlocked.
So if I could go back to the From Software games, I say that's probably a really good example.
One of the best ways to do it.
That's a really Here's what I would say. The franchise, I don't know if they paid attention to the trophies intentionally or not, but Demon Souls was a grind. Like almost all the achievements are just like you have to get all the stones, you have to upgrade a weapon to this class and everything. And at least 2 of them, the one Ian spoke about before, was by far the hardest. And then there was one other one, but regardless of that, Dark Souls I think it did enough
where it was a little bit.
I mean, the first one was I think a tongue in cheek because of course you're gonna die in Dark Souls unless you played it before, and of course the first achievement that you're probably gonna get is your first death,
right?
Which is pretty funny. But it also expanded through. A little what Demon Souls did, but not to the difficulty. And now with Dark Souls 2, if it's not, I'm not really spoiling it, but there's great incentive, to get the achievement. There's one where if you do not die, you obtain a either left or right hand ring that makes whatever you're wielding in that hand invisible. And then if you don't use a bonfire through a playthrough, you get one for the other hand. So if you're into PvP. Or just want to fucking show off that you won the game so hard, you can like PvP with nobody knowing what weapons you use. Oh, yeah, they're invisible.
That's the best thing too. Like if you want to like get into it that hard and you do that many playthroughs that you can actually beat the game without using a bonfire or without dying?
Yes. Without dying, without using
good luck with all that.
If you can do both of those, which is like nigh impossible in
one
games,
playthrough.
But if you can actually do that. And then you go, like, you can just jump in other people's... Like, these games are kind of interesting in that you can, like, if you're playing online, you can have somebody jump into your game and, like, PvP you out of nowhere, and then you just kind of go out. They just kind of go away, and, like, you continue on with your single-player game. But I like the way that they integrate that dual player, and having that achievement... gives it another, gives it kind of another level.
It gives another layer, sure. And like it's sort of a status symbol too. You see somebody like, oh shit, that guy's fucking hardcore.
Yeah, he's not right. You can't see anything. Like he's not doing.
You have no idea what they have. Like you have no idea what they're attacking you with.
I know games did that too. Like sort of like if you did enough and you did the most badass trophies, your like avatar would change or whatever if it was online or co-op or something like that. But like again, like since it's not that I'm to the degree where Ian looks at a game like, oh co-op, fuck you, I can't do it because it's got the achievements. But I mean, I appreciate when games have. Similar to what you said, Louis, but maybe a little notch down where it's an amusing little thing to do. Like, that also has a funny reference. So I want to sort of flow into one of my favorite ones was from Red Dead Redemption, where if you did a specific thing that is get a rarish white horse, it was hard to find, then you had to get a 5-star wanted bounty level, then escape all the way into Mexico, and it would be heading south in a white Bronco. And I remember like seeing that and like that was just fucking funny. Like, yeah, Rockstar's sort of known for that stuff. But other games have done it too. I have a whole bunch that I could just name. Like this Crysis 2, one of them. I think it was 2, maybe it was 3. But during one of the missions, you were on top of a donut shop with a huge like fake donut sign on it. And there were cops beneath it. And if you knocked that donut sign off onto the cops, it would be, cops love donuts or whatever it was. Like, a lot of games like Get to the Chopper I've seen, in every Call of Duty game.
Absolutely.
Ever, like all that, references like that. But I appreciate it when games do that because it's sort of fun. Another one, again, another toned down BioShock Infinite, I replayed to get the 1999 mode achievement, which is like it's basically playing the hardest mode. And
Right.
You're
It's like Nightmare Mode
that's
and
great,
Doom,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, essentially.
Nice.
It's
like-
not all that.
It wasn't,
I
but
don't know.
games can be like Nightmare Mode can differ between games and how hardcore they're going to be about it.
Dead Space 2 is a good example.
Yeah, exactly. And you
Fuck
tried that, right?
Yeah,
Actually-
tried.
Funny enough, Bastion, which I did in bonus points recently, was very easy going through the first run, but then you have to play all of these kind of side
Challenge
areas.
crap, right? Yeah.
Yeah, basically wave battles with these 10 idols invoked, which buff all the enemies, and it gets
see?
the difficulty curve spikes horrendously.
Yeah, it could
there.
become unreasonable, and that's when I sort of that's when I resent. Again, it's a fine line depending on how well you think the game is in general, how much you enjoyed it, like going through the first playthrough, whether or not you're going to go back and try something different in order to get whatever achievement it is.
I wanted to go through a couple of companies.
Sure.
I love Bethesda games, but their trophies tend to be very, very linear. Do
Due to the
main
nature of the
quests,
game, sure.
Do the side quests. Maybe we'll have a couple thrown in. Fallout New Vegas had... I nearly 100%ed. I'm at like 85%. And I still have to do a couple more collectible type stuff. But basically they have deal 2,000 points of damage with this weapon.
Yeah.
With this style weapon. Heal yourself for 2,000 points with stim packs.
Position heal myself.
Right.
And heal yourself with food. So, that was a pretty hefty... Actually, you had to invest time in it, but it was doable.
You sort of naturally did it if you're going to do a couple playthroughs of that game anyway, kind of.
Yeah, the one that stuck out for me, and I recently tried to do a playthrough of Fallout New Vegas, was the 10,000 hit points with unarmed combat.
Yeah.
And that was so much fun.
Yeah, see?
I didn't realize, of course, in a Fallout game, I wouldn't think...
You wouldn't normally do
think
that
twice.
playstyle.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want to get a new feel of it. And of course, it's a different approach. But once you get to... you kind of plateau in at different points because they increase the difficulty at times where you're not expecting it, or
Right.
you just run into trouble, of
Sure.
course, as
Or you just-
as Bethesda
exactly.
games do.
Or you just run into a Deathclaw. and
Yeah,
you-
yeah, exactly.
You're punching
Cazadors.
Deathclaws in
Yeah,
the
but
face.
at some point you just punch that claws to death. Like how more badass is that?
Ian definitely did
you
that.
become the death claw. Like everyone fears you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That kind of shit. Of course, we always love Bethesda, but if it's fun and funny to do, and it's part of an achievement, then it sort of makes it worth it.
But this is actually, I think, going back to our conversation, what makes bad achievements. I'm fine with them putting in multiple endings that you have to do it multiple times. But
Yeah.
I hate when they if you're allowed a save point that allows you to go back, like in New Vegas, you can actually save at a certain point.
Yeah, there's a good
and
branching
run through
point
it a
where it's
couple
reasonable
points.
enough to do that. But if you're saying if the sort of
But
fresh playthrough,
I think it's Dragon Age the Origins,
Yeah.
where you basically have to play through the game 4 times.
yeah, and that's egregious.
Yeah.
That's just too
It's
much
insane.
to expect.
Yeah, exactly. It's already what a 60, 70 hour
Probably,
game.
yeah, maybe
And
more. But
you have to play through it 4 times.
yeah,
I think you at least have to play through it twice in order to maximize and do save points later on. But still, it's you're an RPG.
You're long enough already,
You
yeah.
require me to invest a
You're
lot of
good
time
enough, yeah.
first. So.
Exactly, and like I said, that's when I start to sort of cynically look at it. It's just too much, dudes. There's no reason for that, really.
Well, I would say this. I think that the game creators are probably of two minds about this. It's either, hey, we want to make these achievements achievable for all of our players, or we want to make this incredibly hard and only
So
the
people
most
can
hardcore,
brag. Sure, yeah.
only the most hardcore players are going to be able to get to them. And I think that those types of games are specifically designed. I completely agree with you, Ian, about the online play, and Scott about the online play. That's really cheap. That when you have a bunch of online achievements.
screw that.
However, that is a part
It's
of the game.
for those people.
That's a part
I
of the
get
game
it.
that they have spent time on creating,
No doubt.
and they want you to play it.
Yeah.
You know, like the producers, or not even the producers, but the developers have spent time on building those parts of the game, and they
Sure.
want you to play it, especially if you want the full
experience
if you
in
want the full,
quotes.
yeah, exactly, experience of the game.
Borderlands.
I was
can-
waiting to bring that one up.
I can never. I'm at 70% now. If I wanted to, I could probably get to 99%. But I can never get to 100% because I didn't get the one online trophy that they added in there, which is to play with a guy who played with one of the developers or something like that. It's one of those viral.
You pass it on. Rockstar has some.
The servers are down now. Unless I find a person who has that and do a LAN game with them. It's impossible. It's impossible to get.
You can play a LAN game with somebody.
You can. I mean, but it is kind of bullshit. I agree with that. Like I said, it's always going to be where you draw the line. But that kind of stuff really does push the limit of reasonability.
Yeah, it's kind of a player. I'd say that's kind of a middle finger, really, because there's no reason for it. It's just 99. It's just 99% is going to be sitting there.
Yeah, but see,
for no reason, because some a-hole decided to just throw in something for the developers.
At the time, of course, I thought it was a cool idea. Oh, everyone would be playing online. Yeah, but that was like 7 years ago or whatever when Borderlands 1 came out, maybe more.
But here's what I'll say about Borderlands. Without having played Borderlands, I know a little bit about it, and I know that they like to joke around and screw with people like in those games.
Yeah,
and
sense.
That's kind of like a screw with you type of thing. Like kind of, you can only get it at this, and it's kind of a, you know what? Maybe achievements shouldn't be that important to you.
I don't know.
And here's how we're gonna make it so.
I don't know if you're saying they're like trolling people.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. I think that's what it is. Like if you make an achievement, whether you mean to or not, if you make an achievement that at some point is gonna be undoable, then you're trolling somebody.
So you're trolling the person either intentionally assholes or
unintentionally,
incompetently assholes.
Yeah, kind of.
I wouldn't say assholes, but you could certainly call them that.
I'd say if I were them, the next step would be you can buy the trophy.
Yeah, even more.
$2, $3, $5 for the trophy, you get 100%.
That would be a great way to keep the cash flowing.
That's even a better way. Like, you know what? Maybe like. And even if they wanted to make good marketing too,
Ian
just like
would pay for it.
You purchase it and then it's just like, just kidding, like, or something like a joke, like costs 5, whatever,
points
PlayStation bucks or something like that, whatever. The hell
I like that. If developers did that, I would like it. But it's it goes back. We can talk about microtransaction where like they're cynically being like, hey. But it would be like a good developer would give people their money back, or like it wouldn't charge them anything, even though it looks like they're charging. That would be a good and funny
that would be
troll.
A superb one-time joke.
Yes,
as a trophy.
Yeah,
they did it in Borderlands though, sort of, because there's a trophy you can get in one of the DLCs called Sucker, and the thing is you have to pay an exorbitant amount of in-game dollars in order to see this basically tourist trap, and then it's a waste. The only point is to get the trophy. And you have to grind for money and spend this exorbitant amount.
Then I'll just fucking save scum. But okay, I get it. But sure, again. When done well and in a music, when the players are in on the joke and they're not the joke, then it will be good.
As long as you're not the butt of the joke when you're the player.
But you know what? EA would do that. They would in fact charge you probably for a trophy and be like, nope, fuck you. Yeah. But I don't know. I'll just run on a couple other games. Maybe you guys can jump in on it. Another one that got me. Dishonored was a fun one to mess, because some of those were like, using different setups and abilities that I would never have used normally. But to mess around and do some funny trophies, I did it there. Skyrim, you brought it before. One of them was to get arrested in all of the provinces or whatever, which I did because that was amusing, and I loved that game so much. So yeah, it's just a fine line, whether or not they're gonna like gouge you, and again how much they're going to exploit you because of your natural inclinations or because of how the quality of the game.
And I would say probably the developers at times are trying to walk that fine line, and they don't know what side they're going to end up on.
The best ones will, but that's true.
I'm sure there are a lot of trophies that were made with the best of intentions, but turn out to be like friggin' impossible.
The Borderlands one might be a good example.
Yeah, just brutalize people.
I just want to mention one more thing when we go back. There's one Telltale. I don't want to say they're notorious for this, but here's what they do. There are only story trophies in their games, so you play through their games and you're going to get 100% because there's no other like diverging things, no other challenges. You get basically one trophy per chapter, and that's fine. And you sort of automatically are going to get the full amount for one of their games. And I don't mind that. That it's not that big of a deal. It's for you. Yeah.
A game where you win every time? That's boring. Yeah, well, I must be in hell.
It's a story. It's a story. There's no points or anything like that. And in theory, they could do it how since many of their games you have diverging choices.
You know what I think would be cool with the Telltale games, where they show you what percentage of
they do
people
that
you what percentage of people that you like agree with you like in the choices that you make. If they gave you trophies based on
what
percentages.
choices?
If they were like, all right, as long as you agree with 80% of the people, or as long as you make a choice that only 15% of the people make,
that sounds,
you would get a trophy.
That sounds interesting, but horrible. I'd hate them if they did that.
Well, you'd have to play the game again for sure, but that would give you a reason to go back and play a linear story game again.
I just don't want other people dictating what trophies I should go for.
Well, they do because it's the developers.
Yes, but I trust developers more than the random people.
My favorite game I think that I played recently for trophies was Hotline Miami. And actually their platinum trophy is called Trophy Addict. And it was really a test of skill. You need to get an A+ on every single level.
Right.
And it took me time and effort. It wasn't something that I had to research the best way to do something.
You just had to learn it, essentially.
It was mastering a skill of playing this arcade game. And it was, I don't know, I actually felt accomplished after it. Yeah. Which normally, again, I mentioned this earlier. But
normally it's just like a job or a slog for you.
Yes, it is.
Sure.
And I'm following a guide in order to power trophy.
Right. Power trophy whoring.
Got a power trophy.
Power whore trophy. Go on.
And I don't know. So this is one of the ones I felt good about.
Yeah,
sure.
And I think if you want to discuss people who did it well, they did it very well.
All right. No, agreed. Like it's not, yeah. When it comes together, where you feel accomplished, like probably Souls or the same thing, where you felt it was worth your time and investment into playing a game so much that it's nice that you got the trophies as well.
Well, yeah. Going back to what Steve was saying, with if they were to do percentages, the closest that I can think of was Mass Effect. I don't know if any of you guys have played Mass Effect, but
I played the first one.
Yeah, there's two choices with Paragon. Preaching to the choir, but there's Paragon and Renegade, and depending on during the cutscenes, you can react certain ways, and sometimes you just want to smack somebody in the face or just shoot them, and it's totally against what you've been doing. Like I usually went Paragon, but sometimes the right choice was Renegade, which is the evil side, so to speak. It was a little. It was shades. They intersected together at times, but seeing an achievement when you're just like you're leaning towards Paragon so hard all game, and then all of a sudden you go Renegade and it's like achievement unlocked, and it's just like do this because you can do it, and it's a little liberating because you think the game is supposed to punish you.
It's somewhat rewarding.
It's supposed to. Sure. Yeah, you think
that's a good point.
Through repetition or whatever, you think that you're going to get punished, but rather you get rewarded. A little trophy there. There you go.
That's a good point. This is another example of how to do trophies well in order to reward your player in a meaningful way, rather than just rotely being like, oh, well, I'm going to do this for 100%. Played another fucking playthrough.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I don't know if you've thought about this or whatever. I'm going totally off the cuff. Actually, Lou, I think you mentioned this earlier, so you might have put a little bit of thought into it. And this isn't even going to affect me, so this is a very unfair question. But
all right,
what is like the best trophy or your favorite trophy that you guys have gotten?
I'm trying to think of them. First, loaded question, trophy unlocked right there. Like I said, like some of the funny ones. I actually 100%. One of my few platinums is Shadow of Mordor, and there's nothing particularly funny, I guess, about it. But there was things that were, again, I wouldn't think to have done using the mechanics, but once I knew they existed, I decided to try to do them, and It was amusing. Like I mentioned the heading south in White Bronco, like that was just funny to see and do. Just it depends.
So you're probably more in the trophy, so like the amusement factor.
I like the jokey ones. Like what I had in my description of what makes a good trophy is fun and or funny, interesting challenges that make different use or outside the box use of in-game mechanics while being reasonable.
Well,
I know that sounds like a little vague, but
I guess let me. I'm
trying to think of my favorite one that was the funnest to do.
Let me narrow it down a little bit. Actually, I would like to hear possibly more about your funny ones, but like, let me narrow this down a little bit in saying that, like, what is the trophy that you guys are most proud of actually finishing and like actually getting? Because I've been trying to think of it for the last 45 minutes or so, and I can't think of one that I actually cared about getting.
I don't know. I've got so many trophies; it's hard to name one.
They're all precious to us, Steve. Yeah. But I can the ones that I can think of for me that really stick out in my mind were, one is which was started my whole achievement trophy obsession was FIFA World Cup 2006, and in that. There was only like there's three. So one was easy, like playing a game, a match online or whatever. The second one was not allowing a goal in the shootout, which took me a couple days, but it was doable. The last one was the World Cup challenge, where you had to win every game that they put you in a scenario. So sometimes there was like international. It was all international matches, but either they were in the final during the World Cup, historically,
matches, yeah.
and there was ones either that like get you in the playoffs, and those were they were ridiculous. Some of them were. I think one of the hardest ones was score. I think 12 goals in a span of a game, and of course it says 90 minutes, but it's really like 4. Right. So it was insane. And then another one, the last one, the hardest one that I had to do was score 3 goals in under 2 minutes. And of course, like it was Brazil and against someone, whatever it was, but finally beating it was so satisfying. It was so satisfying. I haven't played that game since. But the second one that I'm really proud of was Mass Effect 2. And with that, you had to make sure you got all your companions' trusts and nobody died on the final mission, which is almost impossible to do. But you need to like 6 people rely on you to survive. And it's literally either how well you play the game that somebody dies or lives. And it was great.
Actually, you just reminded me of something, and Scott, you can probably speak to this more than I can, but maybe a precursor to trophies, or one of the precursors to trophies, was GoldenEye, where you had
getting all the cheats. And
stuff, where you had
to
get all the.
That's absolutely true.
You had to get all the cheats and like open up all the characters and all that type of stuff.
If GoldenEye were made later, they were all been fucking achievements.
I remember one of them was like you had to.
I got them all in GoldenEye.
You had to like beat the game. Can you remember any of them? Like there was one you had to like beat the game without dying.
I can remember one very specific one. That's all I can say is to get the invincibility, you had to do facility on a ridiculous like time playthrough and everything. If the one scientist guy wasn't where you needed him to be, you just had to fucking restart.
Yeah,
he needed to be in an exact spot. You need to do everything perfectly and a very like tight time limit to get the invincibility cheat. And you're right. Like that's a good point. That again, similar to the Zelda stuff we were saying earlier. That's sort of the precursor to. Yeah. Adding replayability to get extra things that sort of matter but may not.
Right.
Well, Earthbound had all those. I think they're at a 1 out of 192 drop rate.
Yeah.
But to go to Steve-O's question on favorites, I have 100% 16 games and have 13 platinum trophies.
You're a monster.
So when I'm looking back at ones I have 100% and what had meaning to me, is that you have from the range of like Demon Souls, which I had to slog through. Then I have things like Assassin's Creed 2, which I believe if you look at it on PS4, and you know, as rare, common, ultra, I think all of them are common. So I look back and I think of things like Hotline Miami, things like God of War, which had these. One of them you have to beat it in a certain time. They're skill-based challenges that reward you for mastering the game. And those type trophies are the best. If it's random chance that I'm getting rewarded on, it's meaningless.
That's true. That's a good point.
If it's the co-op stuff, I'm not interested in that. And then granted, I understand some people are. But I think it should be in it. If it's in there, I remember playing one of the Call of Duties, World at War, where to get the platinum, all you had to do was play one online match and win one online match and one co-op match, and that's all. There were a ton of secondary ones, but you didn't have to do any of them.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good way of doing it. I agree with that.
Yeah, so the skill-based ones are the ones I'm really interested in. I believe in Deus Ex you had to play a pacifist.
Which I also did, I believe.
And stealth too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like again, skill-based reward, and those are the ones that have meaning to me.
I agree with that. So I sort of cut it up. I definitely would say that if there's one or a handful of trophies in a game that are difficult but not unreasonable to do, then I'll do them. Especially, of course, if I really enjoyed the game. And I guess the other side of the coin is what I like is if I haven't looked up the list beforehand. If I'm just doing something during the game and I get a little funny achievement pops up, I'm like, oh, okay, I did that. Like Dishonored was a good example. I did one of the missions, and at the end of it, I got faceless, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It's like nobody saw me. Like that's pretty badass. Like I like that. Or Spectre is another one, something like that. So if I just happen to be doing something like within my own play style, and I get randomly rewarded, yeah, that's kind of satisfying as well. And or if I look up the list and like, oh, that looks like something fun and funny to do, I'll go try that.
Right.
So I think it's all that. Like certainly, as I said, not as hardcore, but I certainly understand the appeal and. Whether or not, however cynically or not, games, for better or worse, contain them, and some people are going to push it to the limit, and other people are just going to be like, yeah, achievements are there, but, whatever. So does anybody have any final thoughts on being achievement whores or not?
I am not one.
Or being achievement junkies, or just achievement connoisseurs.
I guess I'll just say this as my parting shot. Despite the fact that I'm not a huge achievement junkie, I completely understand why people get into it. And like I said earlier, it's kind of the trap that I fell into when I played
Sure.
Final Fantasy VII, just grinding until I got everything that I wanted out of that game. And I could see why you would want to get everything you can out of a game, especially if you really enjoy it. Again, to me, like what I try to get out of games these days, and especially since I have probably less time than I did when I was, a high school kid.
Sure.
I just want to get the story out of the game and enjoy it for what it is. I'm not really that concerned about seeing every single thing that every game developer put into every single game that I play.
I, on the other hand, need to please our robot overlords.
And we'll continue doing so.
I've kind of eased up on the achievements and trophies and everything, but there's still ones that I really do want to go back to.
Certain ones still got your
stick
claws
out.
into you,
But
sure.
I just hope that they just incorporate these things a little better. I mentioned already before that the story dependent achievements really don't add value or anything.
They can probably go away. I sort of agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, adding elements that make it fun with, I forgot what was it, with the donut that crushes all the objects.
Yeah.
Make it fun. Why not? Just.
Those are always
Add a
nice
different
ones to
element.
stumble upon, even if
I was saying,
even if I just stumble upon something and it's a good achievement, I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I agree with all that. So I agree that they could maybe be tweaked a little bit to sort of try to please both ends of the spectrum a little bit better. But I'm still going to do a couple of the ones that I think that I stumbled upon or that I think are funny and worth doing.
Yeah.
And if you have made it to the end of this podcast, you also get an achievement. So I think that'll do it for tonight.
But it's only a bronze one, sorry.
Yeah, it's a common one. So,
Bronze.
Listen to all our podcasts for the gold.
Yeah, if you really want the platinum, you have to keep listening.
The achievement is called
platinum,
you
yeah.
listen to shit. Congratulations.
Or you can send us money and we'll send you an achievement as well. All right, that'll be it for tonight. I, of course, am Scott Thurlow as always, joined by Stephen Omosi,
Have a good night.
Jay Ian Manzer, and Louis Duran.
Have a good night.
This has been Syntax Error. Thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next time.
Music by Stephen Ormosi. Editing and engineering by Scott Thurlow.
Syntax Error is part of a Lost Signals Productions. All rights reserved.